So, a week in which Wednesday have been in the news for all the wrong reasons, as usual. We actually had a football match to think about as well, as Wednesday welcomed Hull City to Hillsborough. Now the Tigers struggling bottom end of the table, sacked Grassini early in the season, which seemed a bizarre decision to me at the time. Now obviously doing very well for in France. And Wednesday we're hoping to breathe on the dying embers of that playoff push. Danny Rohl made some changes for today's game. So Wednesday went with Charles in goal, a back four of Valentin, a Hekwe, and the recalled Akinfenao, injured obviously those months ago against Portsmouth, and also a place in the starting lineup for Marvin Johnson at left back. Sort of five-man midfield with Charles and Bannon at the base, with an attacking three of Gassama, Windass and Svante Ingelsson, supporting Michael Smith up front. It is so difficult to just try and focus on the game. Usually I'd be, bit of a funny one day, Smith starting up front. In my head, have I built him up into something he's not? In my head, he's become sort of Solskjaer type super sub that, you bring him on with 20 minutes a goal and he nicks a goal every week, which is probably a bit fantasy. And usually I'd be talking about that. Oh no, start with Patterson, give Pato an hour to batter him about a bit and then get Smithy on to nick winner. But I just can't seem to find the energy for that debate, for that argument. Anyway, that was the Wednesday 11 as we took on Hull. Focus on the positives, Jim. One of the positives today was the return of Akinfenao. Now, he's been out for months on end since the Portsmouth game, obviously when Michael Smith scored his beauty. And one of the reasons why we've struggled so much at the back, because the first 2 months of the season, maybe 3 months of the season, playing really well. As good as he's played in a Wednesday shirt. And he looked to be forming part of a solid defence back there. So really good to see him back in action. Probably a little bit too late to help us in terms of a playoff push or anything like that, but good to see the lad back out there and on the park. It was a scrappy game, it was a championship fixture. You'd expect a team at the bottom scrapping for their lives, and the opening up to 10 minutes, the exchanges, a lot of loose passing from both teams, and probably the best half opportunity, probably 7 or 8 minutes in there, full-back Coyle had got forward and he smashed a shot about 20 yards off at bar deep into Cop. For all where they are in the table, I thought Hull started growing into the game using the ball better than Wednesday. The stats will say that we had the possession in the first half, but I thought they used theirs better. 15 minutes, the lad cutting off the left-hand side, put Valentin well out of the way, really good bit of footwork, flashed a shot across. Hekwe got his knee to it and sort of just put it wide at far post for the corner. Everybody was scrambling there. And like I said, Wednesday did have a lot of the ball, but we weren't finding it, man. It was very sloppy in possession, and given everything that's gone on this week, it's hard not to think that somewhere in back at players' minds, they were thinking about other things. That certainly seemed to be the case, I'd say, for the first half an hour or so. But about 20-25 minutes, Wednesday very gradually starting to come into the game. 1 or 2 little opportunities. Valentin down the right-hand side flipped a cross ball in that Windass got up and attacked, headed wide at far stick. A move started by Pierce Charles, and I think that was probably one of the bright sparks of a sad afternoon, really, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Was that lad in net? Actually, overall, I'd probably give him a man of the match, not based particularly on saves he made. He did make one terrific save, but genuinely, overall, over the 90 minutes, I'd give him man of the match because I thought he was our best ball player. I really did. On a day when our passing were really sloppy, he's really good. Emphasised, I think, by a moment when a ball came across to him from our right back position. He was under pressure from the centre forward, And a lot of outfield players, are uncomfortable in taking the ball on the wrong foot, and they'll have to swing, the nearest foot at it. He opened his body and played an absolutely fantastic curve pass out with his left foot. Not only is he a goalkeeper who's good with the ball at his feet, he's really good with both feet. I mean, that really is something. He's had a terrific game today, and as I said, it was him who set this opportunity up where Valentin got down the right and put in a good cross for Windass. Another good move, like I said, Wednesday sort of growing as we're coming towards the break. Again, it's another move started by Charles. Quick footwork, gets the ball out. Gassama drives on his man down the right hand side, cuts across in. It's cleared by their lad. I think there's actually a decent shout that he cleared it with his hand as he went to ground, but little moments, as a Wednesday fan, you're not expecting to get penalties here. I thought it was his hand, but that's cleared away. And Hull, you've got to give credit, as Wednesday sort of turned its screw a little bit towards half-time. There was a moment got down left-hand side, Johnson linked well with Svante Ingelsson. And when Ingelsson put that cross in the box, I had to do a quick double take. They've got 11 men in their own box, Hull. They are scrapping for their lives down there. 11 men defending an open play cross, which tells you, they're not giving up the ghost in there, and they're going to scrap for every point. But it did highlight as well how difficult it was for Wednesday, because there were a number of opportunities in both halves where we've put good delivery into the box, but the sheer number of Hull players in there make it an almost impossibility for people to get on the end of anything. Just before the break, Charles called into action from a goalkeeping point of view rather than a ball playing point of view. Joseph managed to get inside. Credit Hull, because their inbox is quite tight in there. A couple of little 1-2s and a nice layoff. Joseph gets the shot away from close range, and a really smart save from young Charles in there. A frustrating half for Wednesday, that first half. The 1 or 2 half opportunities, but I won't say full opportunities for them. We did get shots away, but most of them have been blocked. Like I said, they got a tremendous number of defenders in the box all the time. And the goalkeeper's not really had to make a save. And he's not really had to make a save because of decent defending. You've got to hold your hands up, chucking themselves in front of things. Wednesday come out second half, more positive. It's something that we've seen throughout the season. Johnson and Ingelsson linked well again down the left-hand side. A cross into Windass. He got his shot away. He got a defender in close attendance. There was not really anything he could have done other than take the shot in the manner that he did. And Panda's got down. Panda's got down and made a good save. He's actually made a couple of good saves in the second half, their keeper. But it was a positive start to the second half from Wednesday. And then Danny, as he does, nice early substitutions. He's brought Patterson on for Smith. And then he's brought Armstrong on as well. And it means a slight reshuffle for Wednesday. They go from a 4-2-3-1 to a sort of 4-3-3 up there. Armstrong involved straight away. He's very neat, very tidy. I like him. I think he's a smashing player, and he's getting involved, and he's trying to push on and support the attack, which I like to see from midfield players rather than deep sat and trying to ping passes about all the time. He's getting in there and trying to get involved and get into the box. Pedro goes down with a feigned head injury like they do these days for the now routine away team 5-minute drinks break, which we see up and down the country every week at every ground that you go to now. When that hits Wednesday, because we were gathering a little bit of momentum, and that completely takes the sting out of the game. As the game's going on Wednesday, sort of chucking kitchen sink in it, things getting a bit touchy out of it. Bannon gets booked for lipping referee after having a free kick awarded against him when he clearly won the ball from Casey Palmer, who sort of fell over. He goes in book, although it seemed to G him on a bit. 2 minutes later he's down the left hand side, skins two of their players, and Coyle just holds him back. It's he's took one fit team, but it's frustrating when you're watching because it takes that sting of momentum out of Wednesday. Actually, that coil were involved again. Charles burst through. He got a sort of, I won't exactly call it a one-on-one because he'd got three defenders converging on him, one of which was Coyle, who did just enough to get across him at last minute and sort of force him into a weak shot across the goal. And then the clock goes up. I was hoping for more time because I genuinely thought Wednesday might go on to nick the game, and as it is, it's us who's lost the game deep in extra time. From a free kick that wasn't, Domayoff has slid in there, got a foot in. To my dying day, I will say he got that ball. I thought it was an harsh free kick. I thought it was even harsher. He got booked for it, to be honest with you. And maybe that's still in his mind when the big lad gets up around the back and heads it in. Magnificent header. Not taking anything else away from lad there. The power he generated on that. It's a good delivery, but it's an absolutely fantastic header. Right into far post. They steal the points, vital points for their relegation dogfight. And a real kick in the balls for Wednesday. Another omni feat. But a kick in the balls more generally because it's been a terrible week for Wednesday. There was some protesting before the game under the concourse, and there were one or two sporadic bursts of chances to get out of our club, through the game. And I'm not going to call it apathy in terms of atmosphere. And it's not just at Hillsborough, by the way. There's a lot of quiet football grounds these days. I compare football grounds now to when I was young. They were noisy places to go. They could be intimidating places to go. And up and down the country now, from Premier League, 4th Division, wherever it is, I think grounds are a lot quieter than they used to be. And that can be apathy, and we can talk about it's when seats went in or whatever, and game being sanitised. But today I felt there were also a little bit of sadness in ground. There were times it felt a little bit like a wake, and it wasn't just the fact that Wednesday were struggling to, breathe some life into the dying embers of this playoff push. I think it's because people know that at the end of this season, there's going to be upheaval. I think at this point, most of us want to see some upheaval upstairs, But I think the genuine realisation is that the upheaval is probably going to be a bit lower down, and in terms of the management structure. There was, at the end of the game, Danny walking across the pitch looking very forlorn, sort of looking around the place, and it was hard not to get the feeling from that he was looking around, just taking in the memories, to be honest with you. And then he spoke after the game with realism. Now, Danny's always struck me all the way through this season and last season has been so positive. But look where we were last season when he took over. We looked dead and buried. Nobody gave us a chance. I think some bookies had already paid out on us going down. But he came in and such energy and positivity, and no, we can do this. And to hear the way that he spoke after the game today, I just found it incredibly sad. And I just get the impression, the way he talked, that there's a man who really enjoys living here. He spoke positively in the week about the city and being out and about and going for a run and chatting with fans, and seems to have settled in well here. The pride in which he talks about his players and the effort that they've put in, because we all know that they've given it everything this season. We all know we need more quality. It goes without saying. I could sit here every week and say we need Premier League standard players. We're not going to get them. You've got, as a mate of mine at work always says, you can only piss with a cock you've got. And they've really given it an effort this season, them lads. Could tell you we're incredibly proud of them. And I just got the feeling that he enjoys it here. I think he enjoys working with players. I think he enjoys the city. And I think in other circumstances, he enjoys working at this football club. But unfortunately, we know what those circumstances are. We'll have a quick look for yourself.
It's hard, but key message for me, this team has a big character, a big belief. A lot of players, they take all the setbacks, go again and again and again, and that makes me very proud. I will never forget these players in my life this time here. And I think this is for me the most important key today, not the result, it's about the character of this group. I think the motivation comes from the inner circle, yeah. I think there's no question mark. They don't need me that I say again, we should do this. The emotional level was there. They want to fight, they want to go, they want to do everything because they have still goals, yeah. But you can understand what it means for this group. I can speak about a lot of things, but this is not part for the public. Part is what we showed today in the stadium. Yeah. Try, guys, and I think this is also a message to our fans. Support us until the end of the season. Take this next 6 games. My player deserves this. And then we go hopefully in the summer, and then we will see what happens. I think this makes no sense to speak about the playoffs. I think we should be a little bit honest. We are not ready for the playoffs, yeah, in many parts. We did an outstanding job until now. We felt that we are always close, but especially in the second half of the season, in all these tight games, we could maybe win 6 home games with our performance, with the datas behind all these things. But we didn't, and then at the end it's about results, not about datas or feelings, and it was not enough. But again, I will not complain my players. These players with these characters, they go again and again and again and again. I think it's not easy. I think when I'm arrived here, we create exactly and we'd have to turn around. I think it was a successful story to stay in the league. I must even say, yeah, we speak now, the road goes not under at the moment because we have now 52 points and we did a good job. Not an outstanding job, because if you do an outstanding job then maybe you have more points. But when you take all the package, then I must say we did so far outstanding job, because this is not an easy way. I think during a season a lot of peaks, down, up, down, up, and my team stand always in front and go again, and yeah, again I can just say I'm proud of this team now, and yeah, let's see what happens.
Now I found that sad to watch. Someone who's so positive and full of so much energy, and we've seen that week after week after week. And you've got to be enthusiastic to get the best out of your players, and he's done that all season long. And then to see that there at the end, it makes me incredibly sad. You know, there is a bit of a sensation of it being a bit like a wake, because I think we realise the way it's going to go. And next season, nobody's got any idea what's going to happen, and we've still got games left. As I said, it's the dying embers now. And realistically, before the season, to finish in this position with more or less the same squad of players, obviously a couple of key loan signings, but more or less the same squad of players, we'd have took that. We'd have also, that is a real step in the right direction. Where it's painful for supporters is, I think we see the tune that he's got out of these players, and we start thinking, well, what could he have done with a slightly better class of player? That's where the frustration comes in. Now, managers come and go in football clubs, and they'll always come and go. But now and again, you get a manager or a coaching team, and you know when there's something potentially really good there. I always talk about when I was a kid, Ron Atkinson came in, we actually got relegated, but season ticket sales went up the next season. More people were going at games buying shirts. And even though we'd gone down, the reason for that was people could see that there was something special in the pipeline. They could see the foundations going in, that something good was coming. It's like a subliminal sensation and feeling that you get inside. And I think a lot of fans have had that feeling with Danny. But unfortunately for us, we also know that for that to happen, for that magic to happen, you've got to have an environment for people to prosper. And unfortunately, the situation at Sheffield Wednesday, in its current form, isn't designed or built for people to prosper in. You know, it's an ad hoc, day-to-day, skimp and get by. And I think that's where the sadness comes from. Because I think fans see that there was a huge possibility here for us to be able to push on more than we've done so in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And I think where the sadness comes from and that sort of lack of energy that we've seen today is because we know that opportunity is going to slip away. And when that opportunity slips away, you know where it ends up. And in our case, that usually ends up with a trip to 3rd Division. So, a very odd day. A lot of odd emotions around, to be honest with you. Maybe I've read it wrong. Maybe I've read the atmosphere wrong and Danny's body language wrong and what he said. But we'll see. Let me know what you'll think anyway.